All right, let's not waste any more time.
Please
Let's talk
no.
to someone who is super talented. We had the chance to meet him at Summer League last year. He's a great guy, super talented, works on JJ Redick's podcast. Oh, and he's wearing a Deuce Mo hoodie. What a gem he is.
Did you guys plan this?
No, we did
No.
not. No, he's
cool.
a real one. Of course, he is part of one of the best sports podcasts out there. The Old Man, the Three with JJ Redick. He also used to work at The Ringer, the co-creator of NBA Desktop. He is an Emmy Award winner. Let's welcome to the show, Jason Gallagher.
Goodness. You're far too kind. I couldn't be more excited to be on this show. You two are the best.
Oh, dude.
Right.
Jason, I appreciate you making time, man. I appreciate it. You know, something we've been talking about, I was just saying how, you know, the Kings are in the number 3 spot right now. And Mike Brown's like, oh, they're the hunted now. I'm like, no one around the league respects the Kings even yet, even though they're a good story. You're a Mavs fan. Do you respect the Kings right now? Or do you still look at them as like, oh, that's a cute little story?
Well, the Mavs have their own issues to worry about.
Sure.
Let's start with that. Secondly, you know, probably just because the West is so loaded, they get overlooked. Me as a fan, like, yeah, you know, the Warriors are still the Warriors. The Suns are beefed up. But it is one of those things. I'm very envious of your position because that's the best place to be in. I don't necessarily believe Mike Brown when he says that they're the hunted. I would just enjoy being overlooked. I mean, that in terms of fandom, that's like the sweet spot. Because when expectations come, it starts to get annoying, and then you start to get the counter takes, and so I who cares? Just enjoy.
Thank you. See, this is great getting an outside perspective, Morgan, because that's what we always say. Is like, I don't think there's anything sweeter than the come up.
For sure,
the come up is where it's at. When the expectations come, then it just gets toxic, and you just go, "Oh, this isn't as fun."
No, and I completely understand that, and I was more on Mike Brown's side because I'm a homer when it comes to Mike Brown, and anything he says goes. But at the same time, it's understandable. And I think the Kings are making more and more of a name for themselves when they're actually taking on teams. Like, for example, Jason, let's talk about that weekend when it was that back-to-back against the Mavs in the Kings at Golden One Center. And it was Kyrie's second game with the Mavs. And then you had the third game with the Mavs, and Luka Donicic joined him. Yeah. How fun was that game? I mean, we were there in that atmosphere, but how fun was that game even for you as a Mavs fan? Not only seeing two of your guys who are going to be the future for the rest of this year at least, but even against a team like the Kings who are having their come up.
I thought it was great. I mean, I love those back-to-back games like that because it is like a mini playoff series, and the Kings and the Mavs very well might meet each other in the playoffs. So it was like in that respect, it felt like a playoff vibe. Each team got one over the other. It was a lot of fun. And as Mavs fans, I mean, we're kind of in this place where we're overanalyzing literally every single thing. And so after that second game where they lost, it was like the sky is falling. But I don't know. It was like very competitive games. I thought it was a blast. I mean, yeah, I would love to. It would be fun to play the Kings, but you would deep down like not be upset if they won. You know, there's nothing worse than playing a team that's like likable. You know, you want to hate your opponent, but the Kings are friggin' likable.
See, that's cool that they're likable.
I know.
And there's so much. I know I've told Jason this, but I've grown up hating the Mavs.
Yeah.
I just thought, you know, the Dirk Nash stuff, I feel like they got too much love when the Kings were good. And that was me being super protective of my early 2000s Kings.
Sure.
But then you've got the whole Luka dynamic. For some reason, I feel like I am so petty with Luka, as if he made the decision to go to Dallas.
Correct.
I don't know why I feel that way. I don't know. I just look at him again. I nitpick him. I mean, I pick him apart. I'm like, oh, awful. Look at him. He's gassed. I think it's trying to make myself feel better about the Kings passing up on him. How are you with Luka? Is he like a guy that can't do anything wrong in Mavs fans' eyes, or are you like more realistic with like, oh, I kind of see some of the warts?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the first year, just because of the conference finals. This is the first year where I don't know, I started to watch him a little bit more critically. And very little of, you know, being upset with him has to do with him, like his actual game. Like, you want him to stop yelling at refs, complaining every play. You want him to get back on defense. You wish he and J Kidd, between the two of them, they could figure out a last possession play other than a step back situation. So it's little things like that. But in terms of his development and where he is and what he's capable of, you're not really that worried. You just hope that the front office and everybody can put long-term support around him.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, we watch so much basketball, and obviously whenever I turn on a Mavs game, I get frustrated, but I'm also so intrigued, right? Like, he's such a special player with the way that he can just go down the middle and just have that cross court pass over the head, and then have that step back three that's from way out there. Just all of a sudden, there's exciting times, but the style of play from a team basketball perspective is very frustrating at times. Do you feel like Kyrie is going to be the answer going forward, or do you think that it's going to be just this season type of thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that I can't really answer. It's like, I mean, I was skeptical of the move just because I'm skeptical of in season trades that don't have a long-term, or that just the long-term viability of that trade is up in the air. I mean, that's like, I think that's pretty objective fact. And so it's really just like it feels like a short-term gamble.
Yeah.
And so that to me is where now, if any player could adapt, it is him, because he knows how to play with mega stars. LeBron certainly wasn't as ball dominant as Luka, but still he knows how to do that. And a lot of the reason why Brunson worked with Luka last year is because Luka does hold the ball for a long time. He tries to do all sorts of things. Then Brunson gets the ball in his hands with like less than 8 seconds left on the clock. He knows how to play make in a short amount of time, which is really, really key. And it's what Dallas was missing this year. Dinwiddie's not that. So Kyrie can be that, and you sacrifice a lot of defense. So we'll see. I mean, this is just like this just feels like do like a couple shots and let's just see what happens. I don't know. That is my whole outlook for the year. It is like, who knows? I don't know.
Jason, for those who don't know, if you guys remember a couple of years back, I know it was big in Sacramento, the Hallelujah song.
Mm-hmm.
He co-wrote that,
yes.
Right? Did you write the whole thing, or was it?
I wrote the whole thing.
You wrote the whole thing.
Oh my God.
One, so good. One of my favorite things that you're able to do, though, you're a Mavs fan. You guys got to play that live at a Mavs game. That had to have been a bit surreal.
Oh, it definitely was. It was a lot of fun. I think that there was actually a bit of awkwardness, just because it's like the other team sitting right there. It's sort of like I'll tell you just like a brief thing. So it was a really weird game early. It was kind of like one of those early evening games, like late afternoons, and they were letting fans into the arena early because there was a bad storm. And so we had to sound check while the Rockets were doing shoot around.
No.
And people were screaming at us. I mean, like screaming at us. And they were like, we had heard like Chris Paul is pissed, like all this other stuff. And it was just so great. It was so great because I'm not doing anything other tthan fake playing guitar, but the singer Isaac Lee is like eyes closed singing, and like you got the Rockets like coaching staff just losing their minds. So there was a lot of memorable moments, but that was actually super fun because that was a pretty pivotal game for Luka. Super early in his career, they were down by 15 in the fourth, and he kind of single-handedly off of like multiple step back threes brought them back. And so it was like a really pivotal game for him. So it was a lot of fun. I had a great time.
I'm just a little.
What?
I remember seeing that. I thought he played the guitar.
I did too.
You sold that.
I did too.
Well, I play guitar, but not well, but well enough to fake it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So it's one of those things where I was just gonna have Isaac do it, and then he was like, "Be great if you were up there," and I was like, "Only if I can wear a wig." And so, yeah, as you can see, I like to cover my face as much as possible. So.
It's such a beautiful face, though.
It's beautiful face, beautiful song, like we said, and obviously brought the good energy that night. Jason, I want to talk more about you work on one of the best podcasts out there, The Old Man and the Three, and it's with JJ Redick. What's it like working with JJ Redick?
I love it. I mean, he is from a basketball perspective. I feel I really have had to pinch myself a couple times. You know, working in media, a lot of times it can get a little like, I don't know, mundane. I guess that's a generous way of putting it. And so after the Ringer, like getting to work with somebody who has like this genuine love for basketball, just like genuine curiosity, love. Why do people love it? How does it work? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's reinvigorated a love that I have for basketball in an amazing way. So just like on that front, I just love it. I mean, you know, when you go to dinner with JJ, you're going to be talking about basketball for like 2.5 hours, and he's and you start to get into some really weird, deep conversations with him about like life and sports and all this other stuff. Like it happened every single time. And then, you know, just being able to be in the room in some of these interviews, and hear the conversation before and after, like those are really fun. Guys really respect them. They're very open with them. So it's just been sort of like you know, having to tell my younger self, like, dude, you should like be like really taking this in and appreciating this, and who knows, you know, what the future holds, but right now is like you're sitting in the room with some all-timers. So
yeah.
So cool.
I think too, what it shows is like, you know, you have the way that basketball is talked about maybe on social media or on the networks like ESPN, and to get that perspective. And it's not, you know, I think some execs would look at it and be like, no, people aren't into the super nerdy basketball stuff. They want who's the GOAT, whatever that conversation is. And it's just been fascinating to kind of see how you guys have built a legit audience. It's based on people wanting to learn more about the game, but also hear some really compelling conversations with players who are willing to open up to JJ because they're just talking. I don't know. It's great stuff. It's great for the game to have that type of content.
Yeah, no, I mean, he, you know, I think if you'd asked him, he initially was like, the goal here is to humanize the player. I think that is like, you know, obviously JJ really cares about educating the audience, sort of blah, blah, blah. But like part of that education is just to understand how much these people are people. And oftentimes, I mean, I definitely was this way too. It's like you can view them as something much larger, or almost just like you should always be happy, or you should do this or whatever. And it's like, no, these are human beings that are also obsessed with basketball. It's like so great. I sometimes it's like, I'm like, why, man, the cameras are off. Like, stop talking about basketball. Like, why do y'all want to talk about basketball? And that's all they want to talk about is basketball. It's so funny. So.
Yeah, no, it's been really cool hearing some of your conversations. And like we said, it's just so important for basketball players to humanize other basketball players too. Cause I think there's just a connection there that fans go, oh yeah, like this is how things work. Now we've obviously here in Sacramento have heard JJ Redick talk about the Kings over this last year.
People hate JJ Redick in Sacramento.
It is bizarre. Jason,
don't.
It's hilarious how much people will just hate JJ Redick, not because of his playing days or anything, but because of a certain thing that he says about the Sacramento Kings. And I know as of late too, like he's had some really great things to say about some of these guys. But does JJ in some ways hate the Kings?
No. Look, I mean, what's funny to me, because I get this by like association for some reason. Like, like people will, like, fans will come at me and be like, yeah, you freaking like Kings hater. And it's like, all right, well, like I'm a producer and I push buttons and I listen to things and that's what I do. So let's like relax on like the importance of anything I have to say or at all. But what I would say is that, look, he's not shy about his bias on like, let's just like Tyrese Halliburton, right?
Yeah.
We liked him. He came on the show anytime we wanted. They got along really well. I got along with him really well. So at least from my perspective, there's 1,000% bias. I think from JJ's perspective, there was bias mixed with, hey, like there's a history of mismanaging certain situations from that front office.
Sure.
So you could understand the reaction to it. I will say that he's like loves what they've done. Like we just did, we have a video that's coming out this week. It's our second episode of a thing that he and I do together called Islands in the League, where he does this sort of monologue-y thing. And he's talking about in-season trades at work. And he specifically didn't mention the Pacers or Tyrese. He'd mentioned the Kings and Sabonis, and how that is an ideal in-season trade, something that is more long-term, that you do in season, and then you take the off season, you take training camp, you build chemistry, whatever, and then you put yourself in a position to compete in the playoffs. I mean, he, I don't think he would go out of his way to mention that if he hated the Kings.
Yeah, it is so funny. People just assume, and he was super passionate about it. That's why I dig about JJ. Like, he does have tremendous passion for the
Absolutely.
game. That absolutely comes through. So yeah. Jason, I know you've rediscovered your love for basketball. I don't know if you've rediscovered your love for the All-Star game at all, especially after what happened on Sunday. Like, do you have any like ideas of like, should it be fixed? Is it like a conversation with players? It was kind of a weird game.
Yeah, it was really weird. It sucked. I mean, weird. I wouldn't even say it, just sucked. Straight up sucked.
Yeah.
Terrible. I will say a couple things. One, I do think that I like that conferences are out of it in terms of how we draft the players or whatever. But it's sort of like, I do kind of think that they have to have some stakes. Like, I don't feel like there's any stakes when you're doing a draft right before the game. And so my bit honestly would be to go back to conferences, one, just because it's like, I think guys quietly had pride in that. And then second, now this is my real take here. Okay. Much like the Oscars or the Grammys or whatever, I think that they should hire a director for these things, a different director every time, and add some cool visuals to the entire weekend. I know that sounds insane, but what I'm saying is that like, we got to spice this thing up and make it unique and make it fun. And let's get a creative mind in there. Somebody who has nothing to do with sports, and be like, how would you film this? How would you use this as your experimenting time? So that's my big bit. I used to believe that about the dunk contest, that you should get a director every time, throw a green screen in there, get some Marvel effects, do whatever. It's all about the pictures afterwards anyways. And now I see this sucky game. I'm just like, well, let's just do it the whole weekend. I don't know. This is my bit. I don't know if it's ever going to be competitive, so you might as well try to make it more entertaining.
Yeah.
He's got that producer mind.
Exactly.
Yep.
Be open-minded. Make it that and see, you start saying that, I go, make it more like wrestling.
Yes. Make it a show.
I want promos.
My great Shark Tank idea is I want to make a basketball wrestling league. Like, what if you could wrestle during basketball? Should we do this? Like, what is going on?
Okay. Wait. I love this idea. I do love this idea, but I also want to throw in there, because Deuce had a thing too, where if a guy gets hit in the balls on purpose, especially, right, that guy should be able to go to center court and the whole crowd watches him hit the other guy in the balls.
Yeah. I mean, that's just basic. Instead of suspending or whatever, like Dylan Brooks hit someone nuts, you get to retaliate immediately. Absolutely.
So we're on board with anything wrestling and retaliating, all these things.
But wait, I got to go back to what Jason was saying. Wait, so wrestle, you want like get into a ring and wrestle?
Listen. All right.
Okay.
Imagine a ring that is a little bit more rectangle size, okay, that has two goals, and you can script it or whatever, but it's like, it's just outrageous 3-on-3 basketball where you can fight and wrestle. Like, why not? Like, this is amazing. I don't get, like, whenever I watch wrestling and they like climb ladders and get the thing on the thing, I'm like, yes, give them a goal. I'm into this. And that's kind of both in my opinion are running a little, like, wrestling's I'm just selling the idea. I'm giving free ideas.
No, I want ideas. This is where we're at though. This is like the ratings were lower than ever, and it was not good. I mean, I'm like the hardest of hardcore NBA fan. I turned it on at 4:30. The game didn't start till like 6 Pacific time, right? And then it was just Giannis plays the first play, leaves. That I don't think I've ever seen a game where guys were just like walking. It was like, it wasn't even fun offensively, right? Like they were just kind of chucking things up, laying it up. There was nothing fun about it.
I really do think I really do think something combined with like, you know, if you're Nikola Jokic and you get drafted to the team you're playing on 5 seconds before the team starts and you're playing for Team LeBron, like, do you really care? Like, I just think there's nothing to play for. Like,
Yeah.
And I know that conferences, I honestly think that you would be raising the bar that much, but at least it's that much. Like, give them something. At least when they it's Thursday night, there's like 4 days to pretend like you're on the same team or whatever. Like, they don't even know what this is stupid. I don't know. I just like think this is so stupid.
No, and it's true. Like the whole West versus East thing, there would always be a debate. Who's better? Who's got the more talent? Like there's just more fun. You pick the team that way, Western, Eastern Conference, but then you put them on teams like that, Team Giannis, Team LeBron. It is kind of weird. You're right. There's nothing to really play for. They just, also part of it too, I was telling Morgan, can you just play with, I don't know, pride? Like you're getting paid to do this. Like, go have fun. This is a game for the fans. Like, what? Celebrate it.
I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, how much does pride factor in? I mean, they you know, this was discussed earlier today on ESPN. I don't remember which show it was on, but like, if LeBron seriously hurts his hand in that game, then the discussion, why are they trying that hard? And I kind of like, I don't know. I think when with all that's at stake, you know, and we're talking about like load management now. That's a big thing. And with everything that's at stake and sort of players trying to preserve their body, like I just don't see a world in which they're like, yeah, I'm going to go sacrifice my body for pride. Like they're just not going to do it. You got to give them something else. And I don't know. That was just a terrible product. I mean, like, I just like, I can't, I love the All-Star. I'm like, it couldn't be, I'm the audience for it, dude. I take my kid to Disneyland every year. I'm corny as hell. But like that was unwatchable. Like that was terrible.
And this is where green screens in wrestling can absolutely come into play and make things better. But
what about like a moat around the court, a moat with alligators in the moat?
It's genius too, because if you try and go save a ball, like you're gonna fall into water full of alligators, and watching them try to scramble out of that is entertainment. Jason Gallagher, just producer of the year right here.
Your life needs to be on the line. That's what you need to feel.
I did want to ask Jason, because you mentioned the load management, and we were just talking about that earlier. Did you actually hear Adam Silver's comments about load management?
Probably, sort of. Like,
okay. Yeah. It was weird. Okay. And he was just kind of talking about, you know, fans are still paying for tickets and the ticket numbers are still so high up there. So obviously it's not a problem with fans, but you're seeing these games being played, some of these big games being played without their stars. Do you have any solutions? I know we're asking you for solutions for All-Star game and now load management.
You're now the commissioner for some reason.
Yeah.
We have made you commissioner, I guess.
Do you have any solutions for the load management crisis?
I think you got to bring the alligators in. I'm just kidding. No, but in all seriousness, I look, that was a weird. Yeah, I remember at one point during the press conference, I was a little like, you sound like the hot dog suit meme guy, who's like, there's just so many games. And it's like, yeah, I wonder whose fault that is. Like, it's a little bit like that. I think that the scheduling can be smarter. I think that that's number one, is that some of the scheduling, you know, we had CJ McCollum on, who is the president of the Players Association, and he's sort of talking about it from his standpoint. And he's sort of like really detailed out what it is to play a back-to-back in two cities, you know, a certain distance away. And it is sort of like, yeah, I mean, that I know that they get paid a lot of money, but that is like a lot of to put on your body, you know, for a back-to-back. And is it really, really worth it to do if you're not getting sleep? And, you know, your body does respond to that kind of lack of sleep and lack of, you know, proper preparation. So I do think that the scheduling can just be a little smarter. I mean, you know, like everyone who says less games usually gets pushed back that nobody will agree to that for money and blah, blah, blah. But like, I don't know, if it's not that, then we're just going to have to deal with it. Or, you know, like the teams announce at the beginning, like, hey, just a heads up, Giannis is not playing this game. And like, maybe if people were just more upfront, I don't know what that does to anything, but I can't imagine the league would like that because then ticket sales go down. And so I don't know. I like, it is a real conundrum because I think players have been accustomed to being paid a certain amount of money. I think, all that stuff, and no one's sacrificing any of that. So it's going to fall on the fans, but this is, I don't know, man. It's really weird. Just like the All-Star game, it's like the consumer is speaking. I mean, the ratings for the All-Star game is super low. Yeah. I think the consumer is speaking about this, and it will have to be addressed. I'm glad I'm not in charge of that one.
Jason, we're up against it because we're doing this live on the radio, obviously too. But we're gonna have to have you on again soon, maybe on the podcast too. But you're the best. I appreciate you making time for us, man.
Thank you,
guys. Y'all are the best,
dude. You're the best. What's coming? Do you have anything else coming up soon, like that you want to promote?
I'm really excited about this week's Islands in the League episode. I think it's really great. It's about in-season trades and the sort of history of them and the way that they work. But then also I got to write a sketch, and JJ acted in the sketch, and it is really, really, really stupid, and I'm so psyched for it to see the light of day.
I can't wait
love
to see
stupidity.
It, man. Well, hey, thank you so much, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. See ya.
Yeah, see ya. Jason Gallagher.
So nice of him, dude.
Great guy.
Like,
love that guy.
And so creative.